My name is Bruce King, and I'm the Chief Diversity Officer and a senior officer here at St. Olaf College. I get to do a lot of work around building an inclusive workforce, helping the college reach beyond its current boundaries. The things that affect organ function is so inherent in the health disparities amongst African Americans and other people of color, but yet the number of African American people who have volunteered to donate is one of the lowest levels. In my early 20s, I was loving life and loving food and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So in my 40s, I think I had hit 400 pounds. I made a decision to have a gastric bypass surgery. And in 6 months, I went from 400 pounds to almost 200 pounds. And it really did save my life. Unfortunately, it was about 5 years after I had lost the weight and was living, and being much more healthy, and I found myself with end-stage renal failure, where the kidneys just weren't functioning. And I was 44, 45 years old. I had 3 children, and I was going to live for those children. That's kind of where my donation story starts, is a 2-year journey on dialysis, and I began to get rid of the hopelessness and think about being hopeful. And at that point became very aggressive about trying to identify an organ donor. I've always been someone who's been a part of groups. So my fraternity, my family, I thought that it wouldn't be much of a problem because I have 100,000 brothers through the fraternity. I had 2 brothers. I knew all of these black men who I knew that would in a moment be willing to donate. And it didn't go quite the way I had planned. In talking to people in my community, African American community, my brothers, my 2 brothers, and all these black men that I knew, that's when you get kind of a sense of the need for more education around donation, organ donation. A lack of education creates fear. And so a lot of what I did and had to do and would encourage people to do is to become educated. Not for me, but for their brother and sister and mother and father who would one day need a transplant as well, or who might need you to be thinking about organ donation. I was working at the University of South Dakota in Vermillion, South Dakota. And the president of the college, very well known in the state of South Dakota, had been aware of my situation and very quietly had gone to be tested. If you can imagine a day in May when it's a beautiful day outside and I am stuck in a dialysis center, it was a Friday afternoon, and received a phone call from him, Jim Abbott, while I was at the dialysis center saying, I am in Rochester and they tell me I'm a perfect match to be your organ donor. So my story has a very happy ending, but it was not the ending that I predicted. I really thought that, like a lot of people think, that black people can only give to black people, and your ultimate match comes from someone who looks like you and has the same kind of ethnic cultural heritage that you do. And it turned out that my perfect match was an older white man from South Dakota. And he very generously donated one of his kidneys, which saved my life and has allowed me now for 8 years to resume normal living and being grateful every day. Prayer is very important, and I know that my faith in God and the beliefs that I have helped me get through my own situation. But at the same time, God gave us, the ability to make choices and decisions. If I had a chance to talk to someone who might be listening to this story right now, watching this on wherever they're watching it, I would just ask them for just a second to close their eyes and forget about me. But think about me if I was your father, if I was your brother, if I was your son, and I needed an organ. How would you feel then? One person can save and heal 60 people. And I think everybody's looking to be a hero, and organ donation is one way that ordinary people can become extraordinary people. To me, that's incredibly powerful.